America has one great ally in the world, its chief ally. By some calculations, maybe its only real ally, and that's the state of Israel. And that has been the case for a long time. In fact, so long that few people question whether that's a good idea or why exactly that is. Everyone knows our closest ally is Israel, and we have all kinds of military and economic ties to Israel. But the main way you know Israel is our closest ally is that really up until just the other day, there was not a scenario you could conjure in your head in which the United States would take the side of any other country over Israel. It just couldn't happen. So Israel's our chief ally. Hasn't always been this way. Of course, Israel didn't exist until right after the Second World War. So it's all pretty new, and it's accelerated with every decade. We become closer and closer to Israel. Our commitment, not our legal commitment or publicly discussed commitment, but our in effect commitment, our on-the-ground commitment to Israel has become stronger every year. But there's no reason that should stay the way it is forever. What if we decided to change it up? What if we decided to get a new closest ally in the world? How about Qatar? What if Qatar was our closest ally? Float that one at the next dinner party you go to. People will respond strongly, especially if they're Fox News viewers. What? Are you an Islamist? Qatar? The bloodthirsty Islamo-fascist state? What are you getting paid by the Qatar lobby? AQUAC? Of course, there is no actual AQUAC, but if there was a Qatar lobby, it should be called AQUAC. And then you would be forced to explain why Qatar should be our closest ally. And of course, people would look at you like you were insane, in fact, dangerous and probably anti-American. But let's just take Qatar out of it for a second. How do you think about, if you're the United States, who ought to be your closest ally? Who gets that job? Who do you take to the prom? And it depends on how you think about it. If you think about it through the lens of American interest, which is to say what's good for us, then it's a very different picture. What's good for us? Well, you would want a country that had, I don't know, natural resources that you might want to have access to. Energy, probably first and foremost, but maybe not. Minerals too. But certainly energy, oil and gas, because we need them, despite what they may tell you, to continue our civilization and to be strong and prosperous. So a big energy supply would be important. A powerful military might also help. And to have a powerful military, of course, you need a big population to man the military, as Ukraine, unfortunately, is finding out now. It helps to have a lot of people. So there are a couple of different countries you might throw out there if you were looking purely through the lens of what's good for the United States, an America first perspective. The most obvious, of course, would be Russia. Russia! Why? Because it's the biggest country in the world. It's the biggest landmass in the world, and it has enormous mineral deposits, energy deposits. It's got a lot of oil and gas and gold and everything else you need to run a society. And it also has a formidable military, by far the biggest on that continent, on the European continent, and huge manufacturing capacity. So, like, if you needed an ally to help you in a conflict, or if you needed a country in which to stage a fight with some other country, a place to put air bases, for example, Russia would be like the best, of course. But we can't be allied with Russia because Russia's bad. They're immoral. They're bad. You might also say, well, Venezuela. Why Venezuela? Well, because they have the largest proven oil reserves in the world. They're in our hemisphere. I don't know. Lots of natural resources. It's right there. Why not make them a big ally? Talk about a place for military bases and trade, and that might help us. They've got a lot that we might benefit from if we wanted to help our country. You can't. They're bad. They're so bad we're going to invade them. They're so immoral we have to go to war with them. We cannot be allies with them. We have to fight them. That's how immoral they are. Okay. Well, at a certain point, you get to places like, I don't know, Equatorial Guinea. You know, probably not a beacon of democracy. Small country, tons of energy, though. And then the more obvious ones like Saudi Arabia or UAE or Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, the rest of the Gulf states, like those might all be good. And we don't have their same form of government. Those are all monarchies, 6 monarchies clustered next to each other, but all of them have a ton of energy. And they're all pretty pro-American, and they're in an important part of the world. So it's not a matter of being a Qatari nationalist or trying to promote Qatar. As you think about who should be an ally of your nation, you think about your nation. What's good for us? How do we serve our people, our citizens, the people who voted for us, who pay for all of this? Like, what's in their interest? And Qatar just seems like an obvious one, but it doesn't have to be the only one. And the only reason we're choosing it tonight is because there's so much falseness about Qatar. If you watch Fox News, you know Qatar is evil and they're secretly running the United States. They probably don't tell you that their owner was just in Qatar trying to raise money, which is not an attack on their owner. It's merely an acknowledgement of what everyone who doesn't watch Fox News all day knows, which is Qatar is part of the world. And lots of people go there. We were there 2 days ago. So was Hillary Clinton. So was Bill Gates, looking kind of cadaverous. And it's not because we love Hillary Clinton or Bill Gates we're there. It's because, like, everyone's there. And if you want to interview people, you should probably go to Qatar because everyone's there. And why is everyone there? Because it's a pretty open society, because they have a lot of stuff going on and they got a lot of resources and they welcome people to talk about things in their country. That's not bad. Those are not bad things. Why are we being told Qatar is so bad? Well, of course, for the same reason we hear a lot of countries are bad, because if we have other strong allies, that might affect the interest of our only ally, which would be Israel. And so just for fun, just like a little exercise, not in Islamism, this is not an endorsement of Islamic terror, it's kind of interesting to go through the criteria, the facts about these countries, compare Israel to, say, Qatar, and you decide for yourself what you think might be a more useful ally for the United States to have, maybe even a chief ally. And these are all facts as far as we know. Of course, feel free to look them up. Check our facts against Wikipedia or whatever, Grokpedia. Go there, by the way. You should go to Qatar. Wander around for a day or two. You can fly in the world's greatest airline, by the way, as you get there, which has Starlink the entire way. There's a lot of good stuff about Qatar. Good food, nice people. But just go there. Don't take our word for it. If you're being told that, Qatar is this hellscape with slave markets and, women in burqas or whatever, spend a weekend. See for yourself. You're not encouraged to do that. You're never encouraged to see anything for yourself. Don't do your own research. Trust the science. Trust our view. Trust the 2-minute clip we put on Twitter. And if you don't agree with that, then you're obviously Islamist, Nazi, racist, whatever. We're going to attack your character. But for once, see for yourself. So here are some of the differences between Qatar and Israel. Again, this is not an attack on Israel, for sure. And it's not promoting Qatar. It's just trying our best to promote our country, which could use allies right about now. So the first is resources. And Israel has basically no resources at all. Its gasoline comes from Azerbaijan. It needs to import basically everything that it uses. Not everything. They've got a thriving tech sector, but for natural resources, they are very, very limited. And that would include water. Qatar has, some of the largest natural gas reserves in the world in their famous North Gas Field. And they are the, I think, #1 LNG exporter to Europe, and one of the biggest certainly to Asia. Liquefied natural gas. It's what a lot of the world runs on. It's also where a lot of consumer products come from because it's converted to plastics, polyethylene, and many other things. So having a lot of natural gas is not just something that makes you rich. It's something that is really good for your country, your economy, and it can help your friends. So that's the first thing to know. Qatar has a ton of natural resources. Israel has no natural resources. Okay. The second thing to know is that Qatar is a very enthusiastic investor in the United States. So that's being spun as a bad thing. They're trying to take over our society. Now, if you've been in the U.S. recently and wandered around and noticed it becoming markedly more Qatari, send us an email and tell us where you went, because we haven't noticed that, actually. Qatar is, in fact, quite a socially conservative society, in contrast to, say, Tel Aviv, which has got to be the world capital for drag queen story hours. Qatar is the opposite of that. Yes, women are not covered and can drive and go out without an escort and all that stuff you hear about taking place in the Gulf. Doesn't actually take place in the Gulf anymore, but it definitely doesn't take place in Qatar, which by regional standards is very liberal, but by American, Western standards is actually pretty traditional. So they don't have a lot of pride parades in Qatar. Let's see, none. Qatari diplomats, ask anybody when they're posted to the West, U.S., Canada, Great Britain. They send their kids to Christian schools not because they're Christian, they're Muslims, but because they're more socially conservative. They don't have government-subsidized abortion on demand in Qatar, as Israel does. They basically have, in a lot of ways, the same social values, broadly speaking, of course. They're not Christian, they're Muslim. But broadly speaking, very similar social values to a lot of Trump voters. There's a big emphasis on marriage and spending time with your family. I'm not trying to talk it up too much. It's different. It's not my culture. But I guess the point is, if Qatar was really in charge of our culture, it wouldn't look like this at all. Right. So, but they're investing in a lot of businesses. Qatar has pledged $500 billion in investment. I think they put about $150 billion in so far. We'll see if they make good on the other $350 billion, but 150 is a lot. You can say that's a bad thing, but tell us how and why. Unless they're subverting our values to make them more Qatari or whatever. Unless AQUAC has been subverting our values. Probably not bad to have other people invest in your country, especially on the brink of a recession, maybe. How much does Israel invest in the country? Well, actually, Israel's on the other side of the ledger. Israel is a massive, massive net cost to the United States every year, not just the famous $3 billion. It's only $3 billion. But the cost of defending, backstopping that country in every conflict in which it enters, which is like, at this point, more than half a dozen. I mean, where are they not having a war? Who's paying for that? Well, we are. We are. Every single year, going back, well, almost 80 years. Every single one. Trillions of dollars spent prosecuting wars on Israel's behalf or wars that we waged at the behest of Israel, including the Iraq War, including whatever that was in Syria, including the regime change war they are pushing the United States government to have in Iran. Those are costs. Now, you could argue, well, we need to because those wars make us safer, in case you're feeling a lot safer than you did before 9/11. So I guess, but just in pure dollar terms, one country is a huge cost to the United States Treasury and the other is a net addition. So that's one difference. You want allies to help you once in a while. So let's say you have a war, especially one they asked you to get into. You'd want them to send a lot of their troops, or at least a symbolic number of their troops. How about no troops? Ever, really? Maybe I got that wrong. Maybe a troop or two went, advisors or something, but basically no real help in any of these wars. Not attacking Israel here, by the way. As always, they're doing what they think is best for them, which is great. Godspeed. But if we're going to do what's best for us, someone's going to have to explain why that's best for us, because it's not obviously best for us. So then you really get to the question of values and morals. This is the conversation that's happening right now. And the idea is that you're not allowed to have the conversation that we're having right now because Qatar is just so morally repulsive. It's like Russia or Venezuela, that even to consider, to talk about, to throw out the possibility of having an alliance with such a country, it'd be like, maybe we should go to vacation in North Korea. I mean, you're a freak. You're some kind of outlaw. How could you want that? Are you defending Stalin again? They're trying to make the possibility, the notion, so far out and discredited that no one has the brass to even bring it up. And the truth is, it's pretty hard to defend any system other than the American system at its best if you're an American, because it's our system. We like our system. I like our system. I don't want even a parliamentary system like they have in the UK or Canada. Why would you want that? I like the American system. So it's not a matter of preferring somebody else's system over ours. It's merely a matter of batting down some of the absurd lies. So Qatar, like every country in that region, the 6 Gulf monarchies, the fabled GCC, every one of those countries is an Islamic state. Islam is the official religion of the country. And so in all of those countries, it's probably a bad idea, illegal, if not unacceptable, or some variety of the two, to run around trying to convert people to, say, Christianity. If you show up in downtown Doha with a bullhorn and a sign that says repent and turn to Jesus, probably somebody at some point is going to at least politely, or maybe not, tell you to knock it off because this is an Islamic country. By the way, the same thing is true in Israel. I'm not attacking Israel. It's a Jewish state. They don't want you showing up in Israel and trying to convert a lot of Israelis to Christianity. They don't. That was illegal. I don't know if it still is or not, but it's certainly discouraged. And the same is true in the Gulf, in Qatar, for example. But if the deeper question is, where do Christians feel more comfortable, in Qatar or Israel? I mean, it's sort of hard to know what people actually think. So maybe the best way to measure that is by where they live. So there are twice as many Christians living in Qatar as there are in Israel. Twice as many, at least twice as many. Did you know that? Again, not promoting Qatar. I'm not moving there. But there are twice as many Christians living there. So if it's like an ISIS state where people are beheaded for proclaiming the name of Jesus, why are there twice as many in Qatar as there are in Israel? And why are there so many Christian churches in Qatar? All, or at least most, on land granted to them by the government. Again, not promoting Qatar, just saying, if you're telling me that this is a country whose values are so far from mine that even to go there is a crime of some kind, you're lying. Or we have very different values, extremely different values. So why are they telling me that? They're telling me that because the status quo works for Israel. It works. So if there's any other country that might displace it, with whom we might form a stronger or as strong alliance, if there's a rival for that loyalty, it's a massive threat to them. And by the way, I understand that. This is a tiny country involved in a lot of conflicts that has basically no real allies other than the United States. So I hate to use the word because it's overused, but this is existential for Israel. This is a huge deal for them. It's not just a matter of preference. This is like a lifeline. And so you get it. You absolutely get it. But at some point, our interests, the interests of the country of 350 million, do have to play a role in this calculation. And by that measure, this is not a good deal for the United States. Because on the final question, this is the one that matters most, war, there's a massive difference. Well, this country's 250th birthday is right around the corner, and our friends at Black Rifle Coffee are celebrating the right way with bold roasts made by veterans who love this country and live its values every day of the year. Black Rifle makes coffee for people who get up early and work until late. We drink it late, by the way, best at night. It tastes great, especially after their Atomic Llama formula during this time of year. Cinnamon and brown sugar. It's awesome for winter. Whether you're hosting family, out in the woods, filling stockings for Christmas, this is the coffee that stands for something real, essential, and American. In 2025, Black Rifle supported groups like Folds of Honor, Team Red, White and Blue, and organizations that serve veterans and their families. And in 2026, they're going even bigger. We support them. We know them. They've taken a lot of unfair criticism, but they are great and sincere guys. We can vouch for that. Visit blackriflecoffee.com/Tucker. Use the code Tucker for 30% off your purchase or your first coffee club order, or grab Black Rifle at Walmart or your local grocery store. It's everywhere because it's awesome. Black Rifle Coffee, veteran founded, American roasted. This is America's coffee. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.